"You can send me back," the mail-order bride asked. The cowboy answered, "My son already chose you." The letter trembled in Clara Whitmore's hands as the train slowed to a stop. Dust rose beyond the platform, and the sun hung low and gold, as if the land itself were holding its breath. She had crossed half a continent with one small suitcase, a borrowed coat, and a promise written in careful ink. Now that promise waited somewhere beyond the crowd, if it still wanted her. Clara had practiced the words all morning. "If I don't fit, if I disappoint you, you can send me back." They felt honest. Fair. She had learned long ago not to expect permanence from kindness. When she stepped down from the train, a boy no older than 7 stood near the hitching post, boots dusty, hat too big for his head. He watched her with open curiosity, not shyness. Behind him stood a man, tall, broad-shouldered, weathered by sun and loss. His eyes were steady, not unkind, but cautious, like someone who had learned to measure hope carefully. "You must be Clara," the man said. "I'm Luke Bennett. This here is my son, Eli." Eli stepped forward before Clara could speak. "You look like the lady from your picture," he said, then frowned. "Only sadder." Luke shot him a warning look, but Clara surprised herself by smiling. "I've had a long ride," she said softly. They drove out to the ranch in a creaking wagon. The land stretched wide and empty, beautiful in its loneliness. Clara tried not to imagine herself swallowed by it. Luke spoke little, answering her questions politely, never prying. Eli filled the silence with stories about the horse he hoped to train and the dog he wanted someday. The house was modest, clean, and quiet. Too quiet. Clara felt the absence of a woman in every corner, in the way the table was set for 2 instead of 3, in the neatly folded blankets that looked unused. Luke's wife, she knew, had died 2 winters ago. That evening, Clara cooked supper from what she could find. It wasn't perfect, but Eli ate eagerly, beaming at her as if she'd done something extraordinary. Luke thanked her, his voice sincere but restrained. After the dishes were done, Clara stood by the window, watching dusk settle over the fields. Her courage wavered. This wasn't what she'd imagined, not the man, not the place, not the quiet ache in her chest. She turned to Luke, who sat at the table, hands folded. "I should say this now," she began. "If I'm not what you hoped for, you can send me back. I won't be offended. I don't want to be a burden." Luke looked at her for a long moment. Before he could answer, small footsteps padded into the room. Eli stood there in his nightshirt, clutching a worn wooden horse. "Papa," he said, "is she leaving?" Clara's throat tightened. Luke knelt in front of his son. "No one's leaving tonight," he said gently. Eli looked at Clara with sudden seriousness. "I picked her," he said. "I prayed for her. I asked God to send someone who wouldn't go away." The words landed like a quiet thunder. Clara felt tears rise, unbidden. Luke closed his eyes briefly, as if steadying himself. Later, when Eli was asleep, Clara repeated her offer more firmly. "I meant what I said. I don't want to take a place I don't deserve." Luke stood, crossing the room until he was close enough that she could see the lines grief had etched into his face. "My son already chose you," he said. "And I reckon, maybe I did too, without knowing it." Days passed. Then weeks. Clara learned the rhythms of the ranch, the early mornings, the stubborn soil, the small victories. She and Luke spoke more, slowly, carefully. There was no rush, no pretense. Kindness grew between them like something living. But the past has a way of knocking when you least expect it. One afternoon, a letter arrived with an unfamiliar seal. Clara recognized the handwriting instantly, her aunt's. The woman who had arranged the marriage, who had promised Clara a future but never stayed long enough to witness one. The letter spoke of a better opportunity, of a widower in a growing town back east. Security. Certainty. A chance to start over properly. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She packed her suitcase, hands shaking. At dawn, Luke found her in the kitchen. "I got another offer," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "It might be better. For all of us." Luke nodded slowly, pain flickering across his face before he masked it. "You have to do what's right for you." Eli appeared in the doorway, eyes wide. "Are you going away?" Clara knelt in front of him, tears streaming freely now. "I don't want to," she said. "But sometimes grown-ups make choices because they're afraid." Eli stepped forward and wrapped his arms around her. "I'm afraid too," he said simply. Something inside Clara broke open, not into despair, but into clarity. She stood, suitcase still at her feet, and looked at Luke. "I don't want certainty," she said. "I want this. I want to stay." Luke didn't speak. He just pulled her into an embrace, strong, steady, real. In that moment, Clara understood that love didn't always arrive with grand declarations. Sometimes it showed up quietly, in shared meals and brave children and men who listened. Years later, Clara would remember that morning as the one that changed everything. Not because she was chosen, but because she chose, too. And in a wide, dusty land, three hearts learned that family isn't built by contracts or letters, but by compassion, courage, and the simple decision not to walk away when staying matters most.